Part 1. First Contact at the Border DR. Sarah Chen was drinking her third cup of coffee when the alarm started screaming. The research station's coffee was terrible, but it was the only thing that kept her awake during the night shift. She'd been studying star maps in the quiet laboratory when red lights began flashing across every screen. Emergency sirens wailed through the metal corridors of Station Hopes of N, humanity's first deep space research outpost. All personnel to emergency stations. Commander Rodriguez's voice crackled through the speakers. Unknown vessel approaching. This is not a drill. Sarah dropped her coffee mug and ran to the observation deck. Through the thick glass windows, she could see stars scattered like diamonds against the black of space. But something was wrong. A streak of orange fire was cutting across the darkness, growing larger and brighter with each second. It's going to crash, whispered Lieutenant Torres, the communications officer. He stood next to Sarah, his face pale as he watched the burning ship tumble toward their station. The vessel was unlike anything in human records. It was sleek in silver, covered in strange symbols that glowed blue, even as flames consumed its hull. The ship spun wildly out of control, trailing smoke and debris. Sarah watched in horror as it smashed into the rocky surface of the asteroid where their station was built. The impact shook the entire station. Coffee cups fell from tables. Computer screens flickered. Emergency lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. Damage report, Commander Rodriguez ordered as he entered the observation deck. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had spent 20 years in Earth's Space Navy before taking command of this research station. No hull breach, sir, reported Chief Engineer Park from the intercom. But that ship hit hard. There's wreckage scattered across Sector 7. Sarah pressed her face against the window, trying to see the crash site. Commander, we need to send a rescue team. Someone might still be alive. Rodriguez shook his head. First contact protocols are clear, Dr. Chen. Any alien contact must be reported to Earth Command immediately. We wait for instructions. That could take hours, Sarah argued. By then, any survivors will be dead. The commander was about to reply when Torres suddenly gasped. Sir, you need to see this. He pointed at his security monitor. On the screen, they could see the crash site through an exterior camera. Smoke rose from the twisted wreckage of the alien ship, but something was moving in the debris. A figure crawled out from the broken hull, then turned back to help someone else. My God, Sarah whispered. The figure was clearly not human. She was tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the starlight. Strange markings covered her arms and face, glowing with a soft light. Her hair was white as snow and moved as if underwater. But despite her alien appearance, her actions were heartbreakingly familiar. She was helping a smaller figure, a child. The alien woman looked badly hurt. Dark liquid that might have been blood covered her clothes. She limped as she pulled the child away from the burning wreckage. The little one seemed to be crying, though no sound came through the security feed. Then the woman did something that made Sarah's heart stop. She looked directly at the camera, as if she knew humans were watching. Her large, dark eyes were filled with desperation and hope. She raised one hand toward the camera, then pointed to her child. Her mouth moved, but they couldn't hear her. Words, she's asking for help, Sarah said quietly. We don't know that, Rodriguez replied, but his voice was uncertain. The alien woman suddenly collapsed. The child tried to help her stand, but was too small. They were both shivering in the cold of space, protected only by some kind of energy field that flickered weakly around them. Sir, Torres called out. I'm picking up a transmission on emergency frequencies. Put it through the speakers, Rodriguez ordered. Static filled the room, mixed with strange sounds that might have been words. Then, clear as daylight, they heard a voice speaking in broken but understandable, standard galactic the trade language. Humans had only recently learned about from intercepted alien communications. Double quotes. Please. Help, my daughter, the voice said, filled with pain and fear. I escaped my husband. Please let me in. No. The words hit the humans like a physical blow. This wasn't just first contact with an alien species. This was a mother and child, hurt and afraid, begging for sanctuary. She speaks standard galactic, Torres said in amazement. She must be from a civilization that uses it for trade. Sarah turned to the commander. We have to help them. Look at that child, she's terrified. Rodriguez stared at the security monitor. The alien woman had managed to stand again, but she was swaying dangerously. The child clung to her leg, looking around with wide, frightened eyes. The energy field protecting them was growing weaker. First contact protocols exist for good reason, Rodriguez said, but he didn't sound convinced anymore. Sometimes being human means doing what's right, not what's written in a manual, Sarah replied. The commander looked at his crew. Torres was nodding eagerly. Chief Engineer Park's voice came through the intercom. Sir, if we're going to help them, we need to move fast. Their life support field is failing. Rodriguez closed his eyes for a moment, weighing duty against conscience. When he opened them again, Sarah could see his decision. Prep the emergency airlock, he ordered. Dr. Chen, you're our xenobiologist. You're in charge of first contact procedures. Torres, keep monitoring their transmission. Park, prepare the medical bay. Sarah felt her heart racing with excitement and fear. This was what she had dreamed of since joining the deep space program, meeting another intelligent species. But she had never imagined it would happen like this. What about Earth? Command, Torres asked. We'll report after they're safe, Rodriguez said firmly. I won't let a mother and child die while we wait for paperwork approval. 20 minutes later, Sarah stood in the emergency airlock wearing a full environmental suit. Through the thick glass door, she could see the alien woman and child waiting outside. They looked even more fragile up close. The woman's blue skin was covered in cuts and bruises. Her strange markings had dimmed to barely visible glows. The child pressed close against her mother, too scared to look at the humans. Sarah activated the external speaker. We're going to help you, she said in Standard Galactic, using the phrases she had learned from the computer database. Please don't be afraid. The alien woman looked up at her with eyes full of tears that sparkled like diamonds. Thank you, she whispered. Please, ... protect my daughter. The airlock cycled open. Sarah stepped forward and gently took the woman's arm, helping her inside. The child followed, clutching a small bag that seemed to contain all their possessions. As the airlock sealed behind them, Sarah realized that humanity had just taken its first step into a larger universe. They had no idea what consequences this act of kindness would bring. They didn't know about the hegemony, or the brutal husband searching for his escaped property, or the war that would soon come to their door. All they knew was that too frightened. Refugees needed help, and humans could not turn away from suffering. It was a decision that would change the galaxy forever. The alien woman collapsed as soon as the airlock finished cycling. Sarah caught her, surprised by how light she was despite her height. The child began Krianja sound that was heartbreakingly similar to human tears. Okay, Sarah said softly, not caring that the child probably couldn't understand English. You're safe now. No one will hurt you here. She had no idea how wrong she was. Part 2. The Hunter Arrives 3. Days had passed since the alien woman and her daughter arrived at Station Hope 7. Dr. Sarah Chen watched them through the medical bay window. Feeling her heart warm at the sight, the woman's name was Zara, her daughter was called Kira. Both names sounded beautiful when spoken in their musical language. Zara's wounds were healing well under Dr. Martinez's care, though the strange blue scars would probably never fade completely. Little Kira had stopped crying and was now exploring the medical bay with curious eyes. She's starting to trust us, Sarah said to Commander Rodriguez, who stood beside her. The child learns fast, Rodriguez replied. Yesterday she was hiding behind her mother. Today she tried to help Dr. Martinez with the medical equipment. It was true. Kira had an amazing ability to understand how things worked just by watching. She had figured out how to use the food dispenser, the light controls, and even the simple computer games Torres had downloaded for her. Large dark eyes missed nothing. Zara was different. She remained polite but careful, always watching the exits, always ready to run. She spoke more standard galactic now, enough to tell them basic things about her world. But when they asked about her husband or why she had escaped, her glowing markings would dim and she would change the subject. Sir Torres called from the communication station. We just received a message from Earth Command. They want us to keep the aliens in quarantine until a diplomatic team arrives. How long will that take? Sarah asked. 2 weeks minimum, Torres replied. Rodriguez nodded. That's reasonable. We need to understand more about their species anyway. Sarah was about to respond when all the lights on the station suddenly flickered. Emergency alarms began wailing, but these were different from the ones 3 days ago. This was the deep space proximity alert. Something massive was approaching their position. What the hell? Rodriguez ran to the main control room with Sarah. Close behind, Chief Engineer Park was already at his station, his face white with shock. Commander, you need to see this. Something just decloaked right above us. On the main screen, a ship appeared that made everyone gasp. It was enormous, at least 10 times larger than their research station. The vessel was black as midnight, covered in sharp angles and weapon ports that glowed with red energy. Strange symbols covered its hull, similar to the ones they had seen on Zara's crashed ship. That's a warship, Lieutenant Torres whispered. A big one. The ship hung in space like a metal predator, casting shadows across their station. Smaller ships began launching from its bays, fighters and boarding craft that moved in perfect formation. Incoming. Transmission, Torres reported, his voice shaking. Put it through, Rodriguez ordered. The screen filled with the image of an alien that looked similar to Zara, but everything about him was wrong. Where Zara was graceful, he was brutal. Her markings glowed softly, his pulsed with angry red light. Scars covered his face, and arms not accidental wounds like Zara's, but deliberate cuts arranged in patterns that spoke of violence and pain. When he spoke, his voice was like grinding metal. Humans of Station Hope 7, I am Commander Corveth. Of the Hegemony 4th Fleet, you are harboring my property. Turn my wife and offspring immediately. Sarah felt sick. Property. He had called them property. Rodriguez stepped forward, his face calm despite the danger. This is Commander Rodriguez. Of the Human Colonial Research Division, the individuals you mentioned are under our protection as refugees seeking asylum. Corvath's red markings flared brighter. Asylum. What is this word? They belong to me by right of conquest. Zara of the fallen world, Kepler and her spawn are mine to do with as I please. Not while they're on this station, Rodriguez said firmly. Alien Commander's face twisted with rage. You dare defy the hegemony. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have enslaved entire species. What are you humans but another weak race ready for conquest? Before Rodriguez could answer, Zara burst into the control room. Her face was filled with terror and her whole body was shaking. Behind her, Dr. Martinez tried to hold her back. Please, she said in broken Standard Galactic. Please don't give us to him. He will hurt Kira. He will, ... She couldn't finish the sentence, but her fear said everything. Corveth saw her on the screen and smiled, a cold expression that had nothing to do with happiness. There you are, my beautiful wife. You have caused me much trouble. When you return, I will teach you never to run from me again. I won't go back, Zara said, her voice growing stronger. You hurt me. You hurt our daughter. You said you would give her to Commander Vex as a gift when she turned 7. Sarah's blood ran cold. Give her daughter away as a gift. Corveth shrugged. Vex helped me conquer the Drachneri. He deserves a reward. The child will serve him well. Shh. Just a baby, Sarah said before she could stop herself. The alien commander looked at her with interest. A human female speaks? How amusing. In the hegemony, females exist to serve. Children exist to be used. This is the natural order. That's not natural, Rodriguez said. That's evil. Corveth laughed us sound like breaking glass. Evil? Good. These are words for the weak. There is only power and the lack of power. You humans clearly lack power. He gestured, and the red lights on his warship began charging. I give you one of your human hours to return my property. If you refuse, I will turn your pathetic station into space dust. Then I will take what is mine. From the wreckage, the transmission ended, leaving the control room in deadly silence. Can we fight them? Sarah asked. Park shook his head. Our defensive systems are designed to handle asteroids and space debris, not military warships. That ship could destroy. Us with one shot. What about calling for help? Torres suggested. The nearest human military base is 3 days away, Rodriguez replied. We don't have 3 days. Zara stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I should leave. Maybe if I go to him, he will spare you. Absolutely not, Sarah said immediately. We don't abandon people who need help. But you will all die because of me, Zara whispered. Rodriguez knelt down to meet her eyes. Zara, let me ask you something. If you saw strangers in trouble, would you help them, even if it was dangerous? She nodded slowly. Yes, it is. ... It is right to help. Then you understand why we can't give you back to him, Rodriguez said. Helping people is what makes us human. On the screen, Corvath's warship continued to charge its weapons. Smaller. Ships had formed a blockade around the station, making escape impossible. Sir, Park said quietly, I might have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. I'm listening, Rodriguez replied. Our research equipment includes quantum communicators. We could send a message to every human colony simultaneously. Tell them what's happening here. How does that help us? Torres asked. Sarah suddenly understood. It doesn't help us. But it warns everyone else about the hegemony. And it lets Earth know that humanity just met our first real enemy. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Do it. Send everything recordings. Of Corvath, Zara's story, the whole situation. If we're going to die here, at least other humans will know the truth. As Park began working on the transmission, Zara picked up little Kira, who had been hiding behind her mother. The child looked scared but tried to be brave. Will the other humans help us? Zara asked. Sarah looked at the alien warship on the screen, then at the frightened mother and daughter. I don't know if they can get here in time, but I know they'll try. That's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. Outside, Corvath's ship finished charging its weapons. Red energy beams began to glow like angry eyes in the darkness. The hour was almost up. Commander Rodriguez stood up straight, facing the screen with determination. Then we make our stand. Here, we might not win, but we'll show this Corvath what human courage looks like. The station's few defensive shields activated, casting a blue glow around their small outpost. It wouldn't be enough to stop the warship's weapons. It was all they had. In 53 minutes, the first battle between humanity and the hegemony would begin. And whether they lived or died, nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. Part 3. Understanding the enemy. Commander Rodriguez watched the countdown timer on his screen. 37 minutes until Corvath's deadline. Round him, the crew of Station Hope 7 worked frantically to prepare for a battle they couldn't win. At maximum power, reported Chief Engineer Park. It won't stop their main weapons, but it might buy us a few extra seconds. Emergency transmissions sent to all human colonies, added Lieutenant Torres. Every human ship within 10 light years knows what's happening here. Dr. Sarah Chen sat with Zara and little Kira in the station's small conference room. She had brought them here to keep them safe, but also because she needed to understand their enemy better. Zara, Sarah said gently, tell me about the hegemony. How do they fight? What are they afraid of? Zara's glowing markings dimmed with sadness. They're afraid of nothing. They conquer everything. My world fought for 3 years before we fell. Millions died, but the hegemony never stopped coming. But there must be something, Sarah insisted. Every enemy has a weakness. Kira, who had been quietly playing with a small toy Torres had made for her, suddenly looked up. Mama, tell her about the rules. Zara's eyes widened. Kira, you should not... What rules? Sarah asked. The alien child pointed at her mother. Mama had to follow all the rules. Everyone has to follow rules. If you don't follow rules, bad things happen. Sarah felt something click in her mind. Zara, is your society based on strict hierarchy? Does everyone have to obey someone above them? Zara nodded slowly. From birth, we learn our place. The strong command, the weak obey. There is no choice. There is only survival. And Corvath is your husband because he conquered my world? The strongest warriors take what they want. I was given to him as a prize for his victory. Zara's voice was barely a whisper. Sarah leaned forward. But you ran away. Broke their rules. Zara said, her markings beginning to glow brighter. For the first time in my life, I chose for myself. I chose to protect my daughter. Before Sarah could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. But these weren't the same emergency signals they'd heard before. These were proximity alerts. Dr. Chen to the command center immediately. Rodriguez's voice crackled through the intercom. Sarah ran to the main control room, leaving Zara and Kira in the secure conference room. What she saw on the main screen made her gasp. Ships were arriving. Human ships. Dozens of them, appearing out of faster-than-light jumps and bright flashes of blue energy. They were mining vessels, research ships, and even some old military cruisers. None of them alone could match Corvath's warship, but together they formed an impressive fleet. How did they get here so fast? Sarah asked. Torres grinned. The mining ship Lucky Strike was only 6 hours away. When they got our message, Captain, Morrison immediately sent calls to every human ship in the sector. They all came. On the communication channel, voices began reporting in. This is Captain Morrison of the Lucky Strike. We're here to help. Research vessel Star Explorer reporting for duty. Mining platform Iron Horse standing by. Cargo hauler Big Betty ready to fight. One by one, dozens of human ships declared their readiness to defend Station Hope 7. Most were civilian vessels with minimal weapons, but they had come anyway. Rodriguez opened a channel to the fleet. This is Commander Rodriguez. I have to tell you all that Hegemony warship can probably destroy our entire fleet. You don't have to stay. Captain Morrison's voice came back immediately. Commander, we heard your message about that alien woman and her child. We heard what that bastard Corveth wants to do to them. No human runs from a fight like this. But you could all die, Rodriguez said. Then we die doing what's right, Morrison replied. Besides, I've got a daughter about that little girl's age. I'll be damned if I let some alien monster hurt a child. Similar responses came from every ship. The humans had come not for conquest or glory, but to protect 2 refugees they had never met. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. This was humanity at its best. Ordinary people making extraordinary choices because it was the right thing to do. On the main screen, Corvath's warship began moving toward the human fleet. The alien commander's voice filled the communications channel. So, more humans have come to die. This changes nothing. Return my property, or I will destroy you all. Captain Morrison's response was simple. Go to hell. The Hegemony commander seemed confused by this answer. Oh, what is this place? You threatened to send me somewhere? This makes no sense. Sarah suddenly realized something important. Commander, she said quickly, can I speak to Corveth directly? Rodriguez looked at her strangely, but nodded. You're on an open channel, Doctor. Sarah took a deep breath. Corveth, I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, the human who's been caring for Zara and Kira. I want to understand something about hegemony law. The alien. Commander appeared on screen, his red markings blazing with anger. You wish to negotiate human female? You have nothing I want except what is already mine. I'm not negotiating, Sarah said calmly. I'm trying to understand your culture. Daddy Ed. The hegemony. The strong rule. The weak. Correct? Obviously. This is the natural order. And Zara belongs to you because you were stronger than her people. I conquered her world. She is my reward. Sarah nodded. But she escaped from you. Doesn't that make her stronger than you? Corvath's expression changed. For the first time, he looked uncertain. She ran like a coward. This proves her weakness. Does it? Sarah asked. She stole one of your ships. She evaded your pursuit for days. She survived a crash landing and brought her daughter to safety. That sounds like strength to me, Elias Corvath shouted, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. And now she has allies, Sarah continued. An entire human fleet has come. To protect her, how does your law handle that? The alien commander stared at her, his red markings beginning to flicker. In the hegemony, everything was based on strength and dominance, But Zara had shown strength by escaping, and now she had powerful allies. By his own culture's rules, this should change her status. It does not matter, Corveth said, but his voice was weaker. She is still my wife. Actually, Sarah said, I don't think she is. In human culture, marriage is a choice made by two equal partners. If one partner wants to leave, the marriage ends. Zara chose to leave you, so by human law, she's no longer your wife. Human law means nothing, Corvath screamed. It does here, Sarah replied calmly. In human space, human law applies. And our law says that Zara and Kira are free people under our protection. Rodriguez caught on to Sarah's strategy. That's correct. As of this moment, I formally grant asylum to Zara and Kira under human colonial law. They are now human citizens. With all the rights and protections that includes, the human fleet commanders began voicing their agreement. Lucky Strike acknowledges the new citizens. Star Explorer recognizes their freedom. Iron Horse stands ready to defend human citizens. For the first time since the confrontation began, Corveth looked truly shaken. His entire worldview was based on the idea that the strong took what they wanted from the weak.
Yes.
But the humans were showing strength not through conquest, but through protection. They were willing to die not to gain something, but to prevent others from losing their freedom. This is impossible, Corveth muttered. The weak do not protect each other. The strong take what they desire. This is how the universe works. Maybe in your part of the universe, Captain Morrison's voice cut in, but you've just met humanity, friend. And we do things differently. Sarah watched Corvath's face on the screen. She could see his confusion growing. The hegemony's power came from fear and the assumption that everyone would eventually submit to superior force, but humans were not submitting. They were willing to fight and die for strangers. Minutes until deadline, Torres reported quietly, Sarah realized they had learned something crucial about their enemy. The hegemony was strong, but their strength was rigid. They couldn't adapt when their basic assumptions were challenged. Corveth had probably never encountered a species that valued protecting others over self-preservation. Zara was right too. Run from you, Sarah said to Corvath. She was right to come to us for help. Because protecting those who need protection is what makes us human. The alien commander's red markings were now flickering erratically. His certainty was cracking. For the first time in his life, he was facing an enemy he didn't understand. The timer continued counting down. In a few minutes, the shooting would start. But Sarah now believed they had a chance, not because they were stronger than the hegemony, but because they fought for different reasons. The humans weren't fighting to conquer or dominate. They were fighting because a mother and daughter needed protecting, and that made all the difference. Part 4. The human way of war. The countdown timer reached 0. Commander Corvath's warship opened fire immediately. Massive red energy beams shot through space, striking the human mining ship Lucky Strike first. Captain Morrison barely had time to scream a warning before his ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal.
Hey, Morrison.
Commander Rodriguez shouted, watching his friend's ship die on the main screen. The battle had begun. All ships scatter formation. Rodriguez ordered into his communication device. Don't give him easy targets. The human fleet spread out like leaves in the wind. They were cargo ships, research vessels, and mining platforms not built for war. But they moved with surprising skill. Using the asteroid field around Station Hope's event as cover, Corvath's warship was powerful, but it was also huge and slow. The smaller human ships darted between the asteroids like angry bees, making it hard for the alien gunners to hit them. Return fire. Captain Torres of the research ship Star Explorer called out. His ship's small laser weapons struck the hegemony warship, but the beams barely scratched its thick armor. Our weapons aren't strong enough, reported another captain. We can't hurt that thing. Dr. Sarah Chen watched the battle from Station Hope's Evans command center, her heart breaking with each human ship that was destroyed. They were losing badly. But something strange was happening. Commander Lieutenant Torres said, pointing at his communications screen. I'm picking up transmissions from inside Corvath's ship. His crew is talking to each other. Can you translate it? Rodriguez asked. Some of it, they single confused. They keep asking their officers why the humans won't surrender. Sarah understood immediately. Put me on all frequencies. I want to speak directly to Korvath's crew. Rodriguez nodded. You're broadcasting to everyone, Doctor? Sarah took a deep breath. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Station Hope 7, speaking to all hegemony forces. I know some of you can understand Standard Galactic. I want you to know why we're fighting. She paused, watching another human ship dodge behind an asteroid as red energy beams chased it. We're not fighting for conquest. We're not fighting for treasure or territory. We're fighting because a mother and her little daughter asked us for help. That's all. A woman named Zara escaped from someone who hurt her, and she asked us to protect her child. On the main screen, they could see Korvath's ship continuing its attack, but some of the smaller hegemony vessels had slowed down. I know this seems strange to you, Sarah continued. In your culture, the strong take what they want from the weak. But humans believe something different. We believe the strong should protect the weak, not hurt them. More human ships were destroyed, but they kept fighting. The cargo ship Big Betty rammed one of Korvath's fighters, sacrificing itself to save a research vessel. The mining platform. Iron Horse used its heavy drilling equipment to damage a hegemony cruiser before being blown apart. Look around you, Sarah said to the alien crews. Look at how humans fight. We're not trying to conquer your ship or enslave your people. Every human who dies today dies trying to protect one woman and her child. Can you say the same about why you're fighting? Through the communications system, they began hearing confused voices from hegemony ships. Why don't they run away? They're all going to die? Why don't they surrender? The human ships could escape through the asteroid field. Why do they stay? Korvath's angry voice cut through the confusion. Stop listening to their lies. Destroy them all. But Sarah could hear uncertainty in his voice. She pressed her advantage. Mani soldiers, let me ask you something. Do any of you have children? Silence filled the communication channels. Do any of you have daughters? Sarah continued. If your daughter was hurt and scared, if she ran to strangers for help, would you want those strangers to protect her? Or would you want them to give her back to whoever was hurting her? One of the hegemony ships stopped firing entirely. Then another. Continue the attack. Korvath screamed. That is an order. But his voice was breaking. For the first time in his life, his absolute authority was being questioned by his own troops. Captain Jana Vasquez of the research vessel Deep Explorer suddenly had an idea. All human ships. This is Vasquez. I'm broadcasting our medical records. Of Zara's injuries, let the hegemony crews see what their commander did to his own wife. The images appeared on every screen, photos of Zara's wounds, the cuts and bruises that covered her body. The fear in her eyes when she first arrived at the station. These are what Korvath calls discipline, Sarah said. This is what he did to the mother of his child, and he wanted to give that child away as a gift to another warrior. The reaction from the hegemony fleet was immediate. Several ships completely stopped fighting. Others began firing at random, their crews arguing with their officers. My daughter is the same age, one alien voice said over the communications. This is not honorable combat, said another. We fight to conquer worlds, not to hurt children, third voice added. Korvath's ship suddenly changed course. Heading directly for Station Hope 7, the alien commander appeared on screen, his face twisted with rage. Enough, he shouted. You have turned my own warriors against me with your poisoned words. I will end this myself. Warship's main guns, charged with deadly energy, aimed straight at the station where Zara and Kira were hiding. But the human fleet moved to block him. Every remaining ship cargo haulers, research vessels, mining platforms positioned themselves between Korvath and the station. You want to hurt them? You go through us. Captain Martinez of the Stellar Wind said simply. Korvath fired his main weapons. The energy beams struck the human ships, destroying them one by one. But for every ship he destroyed, the others moved closer. They were sacrificing themselves to buy time, to protect two aliens they had never met. This is impossible, Korvath screamed. No species fights like this. No one dies for strangers. Humans do, Sarah said quietly. And then something amazing happened. 3 hegemony cruisers turned their weapons on Corvath's ship. "This is Commander Vex of the 3rd Battle Group," a new alien voice said. "Corvath, you have lost the loyalty of your fleet. Surrender now." "Vex." Corvath's voice was filled with shock. "You dare betray me? You are no longer fit to command," Vex replied. "These humans have shown us something we had forgotten. Honor is not about taking what you want. Honor is about protecting what is right. But the child was to be your gift," Corvath protested. "I have children of my own," Vex said coldly. "No, I will not be part of harming another's child." More hegemony ships joined the rebellion. Officers who had served under Corvath for years were now turning against him. The human example of self-sacrifice had broken something fundamental in the hegemony fleet. "All ships, cease fire," Commander Rodriguez ordered. "Let them settle this themselves." They watched as Corvath's mighty warship was surrounded by his own fleet. The alien commander who had seemed so powerful an hour ago was now alone, abandoned by warriors who had finally remembered that strength should protect, not destroy. "Corvath," Sarah said over the communication system, "it's over. Own people have seen the truth. You can surrender now, or they'll destroy your ship." The alien commander's face appeared on screen one last time. His red markings had faded to dim flickers. It looked old and broken. "This is not possible," he whispered. "The strong rule, the weak obey. This is the way." "Not anymore," Sarah replied. "Gently, you just learned that there's a different way. A better way." Corvath's ship powered down its weapons. Around him, his former fleet waited to see what he would do next. In the station's conference room, Azara held her daughter close, and Sura held her daughter close, and wept. But for the first time since arriving at Station Hope 7, her tears were tears of joy, not fear. The humans had not only saved her and Kira, they had shown an entire fleet of hegemony. Warriors that protecting others was more important than conquest. The galaxy would never be the same. Part 5. A new galaxy 2 hours after the battle ended. Commander Corvath sat in a holding cell aboard his own warship. Now under the command of his former lieutenant, Vex, the proud alien warrior who had terrorized countless worlds, was broken. Staring at his hands as if he didn't recognize them, Dr. Sarah Chen watched him through the security monitor from station. She felt no satisfaction in seeing him defeated. There was only sadness for all the pain he had caused, and relief that it was finally over. "The Hegemony Council has been contacted," reported Commander Vex over the communication system. His voice was calm but uncertain. They do not understand what happened here. They are sending investigators." Commander Rodriguez leaned forward. "What will happen to Corvath?" "By hegemony law, he should be executed for losing his command to inferior forces," Vex replied. "But these are not normal circumstances. We have never had an entire fleet refuse orders before." Sarah had an idea. "Commander Vex, would you like to visit our station? I think there's someone you should meet." An hour later, Vex materialized. In the station's transport bay, he was tall like Corvath, but his markings glowed blue instead of red. Scars covered his arms, but they seemed to be from battles, not the deliberate torture marks that covered Corvath's body. "I am honored by your invitation," Vex said in careful standard galactic. "I wish to understand what happened to my fleet today." Sarah led him to the conference room, where Zara sat with little Kira. The alien woman looked nervous when she saw the hegemony commander, but she didn't hide or run away. "This is Zara," Sarah said, "and this is her daughter Kira." Vex stared at them for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. "You were to be my gift." Kira, who had been playing with her toy, looked up at him with curious eyes. She had learned a few words of English during her time on the station. "Are you a bad man like the other one?" she asked in her musical voice. The question hit Vex like a physical blow. He knelt down to meet the child's eyes. I don't know. I thought I was a good warrior. Today I learned there is a difference between being a warrior and being a protector." "What's the difference?" Kira asked, with the innocent curiosity of a child. Vex looked at Sarah, then back at the little girl. "A warrior takes what he wants. A protector keeps others safe. I I think I want to be a protector now. Zara spoke for the first time since Vex had arrived. You could have taken me and Kira today. Your ships were stronger than the humans. But you chose not to. Why? The alien commander was quiet for a long time. When he answered, his voice was filled with shame. Because I watched the humans die to protect you, saw them sacrifice their lives for strangers. And I realized that in all my years of conquest, I had never done anything that noble. He paused, looking down at his scarred hands. I have a daughter. 2. She is older than yours, but I remember when she was small. If someone had tried to hurt her, I would have done anything to protect her. But somehow I forgot that other children deserved the same protection. This was what she had hoped for. Not just victory over the hegemony, but the chance to show them a better way. It's not too late to change, she said gently. Over the next few days, something unprecedented happened. Word of the battle spread throughout hegemony space, carried by the surviving ships of Korvat's fleet. For the first time in their history, hegemony citizens heard about a species that fought not to conquer, but to protect. The reaction was electric. On dozens of conquered worlds, people began to whisper about the humans who had saved a refugee mother and child. Some planets even began to rebel, inspired by the example of ordinary cargo ship captains who had chosen death over dishonor. The Hegemony Council is panicking, Vex reported during one of his daily communications with Station Hope 7. They're losing control of entire sectors. Worlds that have been enslaved for generations are declaring independence. What will they do? Rodriguez asked. Some want to attack Earth directly, Vex replied. But others remember what happened to my fleet. They're afraid that fighting humans might cause more rebellions. Sarah wasn't surprised. The hegemony's power had always been based on fear and the assumption that resistance was hopeless. But the humans had shown that sometimes standing up for what's right was worth any cost. 3 weeks after the battle, a small ship arrived at Station Hope 7. It carried an official delegation from Earth diplomats, military officers, and scientists who had come to study humanity's first contact with a hostile alien empire. But the most important passenger was Admiral Park, the highest-ranking military officer in the human space fleet. Commander Rodriguez, Admiral Park said, as she toured the station, what you did here has changed everything. Earth Command wants to offer you and your crew any assignment you want. Rodriguez looked around at his small research station, then at Zara and Kira, who were playing in the observation lounge. Actually, Admiral, I'd like to stay here. I think our work is just beginning. He was right. Within months, Station Hope 7 had become something unique in the galaxy, a place where refugees from across hegemony space came seeking freedom. The small research outpost was expanded into a massive facility, schools, hospitals, and homes for thousands of former slaves. Zara became the station's official translator and cultural advisor. Her knowledge of hegemony languages and customs helped newly arrived refugees adjust to their freedom. But more importantly, her story inspired them. If she could escape and find sanctuary, so could they. Little Kira grew up surrounded by dozens of alien species, all united by their gratitude to the humans who had given them a second chance. She learned to speak 12 languages and became a bridge between the human and alien communities. Commander X had perhaps the most difficult journey. He resigned from the hegemony military and asked to stay at the station as a volunteer. Many refugees were initially afraid of him, but gradually they came to trust the former warrior who had chosen protection over conquest. I am trying to make up for the harm I caused, he told Sarah one day as they watched Kira play with a group of alien children in the station's garden. But I know I can never undo the past. Maybe not, Sarah replied. But you can help build a better future. As for Korvath, he remained in hegemony custody, but he was a broken man. The warrior who had once commanded fear across the galaxy now spent his days in a cell, mumbling about the humans who had destroyed his worldview without firing a shot. 1 year after the battle, Sarah stood on the observation deck of what was now called Haven Station. Through the windows, she could see ships arriving and departing, constantly refugee vessels, human supply ships, and even some former hegemony warships whose crews had defected to join the growing alliance of free worlds. Dr. Chen, a familiar voice said behind her. She turned to see Zara approaching, now wearing the blue uniform of a station officer. The council meeting is about to begin. Sarah nodded. The Refugee Council was made up of representatives from all the species that had found sanctuary at Haven Station. They were planning the next phase of their growth network, of free worlds that would offer an alternative to both human and hegemony space. Are you ready for this? Sarah asked as they walked toward the council chambers. Zara smiled, her markings glowing with confidence instead of fear. A year ago, I was a terrified refugee begging for help. Now I'm helping to build a new kind of civilization. If that's not ready, I don't know what is. As they entered the chamber, Sarah looked around at the incredible diversity of beings who had come together because of one simple, human principle that everyone deserves protection when they need it most. The galaxy was changing. The hegemonies. Empire of fear was crumbling, replaced by something unprecedented, an alliance built not on conquest, but on sanctuary. And at the center of it all was a small research station where humans had once made a simple choice to help a mother and her child. Sometimes, Sarah reflected, the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or weapons or armies. Sometimes, it was just the courage to do what was right, even when it seemed impossible, especially when it seemed impossible. The meeting began. And with it, the next chapter in the story of a galaxy learning what it meant to be truly free.